Hi, Joe Clark with Inventus Aerotherm. Today I'm going to be talking about the nanodac recorder controller. We've had a new firmware come out last week, version 5.10, and it's added a couple new features, but the one that I really want to focus on is the new nanodac web server. It's a standard free feature with all nanodacs with version 5.0 and above. Don't worry though, if you have an older nanodac, you can just simply update the firmware and you'll have this feature. Now what a web server is basically gives you the ability to view data remotely using a web browser. You'll notice on the bottom left hand side here, I've got three different icons which probably look familiar to you. You have your Internet Explorer, your Google Chrome, and your Mozilla Firefox. All are capable and compatible with a web server. Let me go ahead and start with Internet Explorer 9. I've got it open here. If I click on my favorites and go to the nanodac web server, you notice it's trying to connect to an IP address. All you need to do is connect to an IP address of the nanodac, whether it's something internal like a 192 address, or for this example, I'm actually connecting to an outside IP address about 30 miles away. Now, by default, there is no security enabled on this, but I have decided to turn it on. I set my username and password to admin and admin. Once I connect, I am now looking at the home screen. So there's a couple things we can talk about here, and I'm just going to go through this quickly. Starting at the very top, we've got a home, about, and contact links. The home link is what you're looking at right now. When I click on the about link, it gives you information pertaining to the nanodac you're connected to, such as the descriptor, MAC address, software version, and boot ROM version. When you click on the contact link, you'll notice you have four icons going across the middle, such as accredited services, customer first and technical support, installation and commissioning, repair and support services. These are simply all links to our website that provide you additional information, so if there is a point where you need to look up information for tech support or for repair, simply click on the link and it'll provide you with the information you need. Now on the left hand side here, we basically have three different sections we're looking at. We've got current trending data on the nanodac underneath the trending. We've got more of the messages and a general overview underneath the summary, and then we can also look at historical data that is currently all in the nanodac as we speak. When we click on the bar graph, you'll notice that we're looking at four different points of I/O here. Front, middle, rear, temp zones, and then also a pressure. Take a look at the very bottom left-hand corner. We've got a couple icons here. We've got a green round icon indicating that the recording is currently enabled. Because the nanodac is a recorder and a controller, as a recorder it's going to be recording at all times. There are times when it may not record, such as if you're making a configuration change, or if you're specifically telling the nanodac not to record. So keep in mind, when you're logged in, if you see a red icon there, that indicates that the recording is not currently taking place on the nanodac due to one of those two reasons. The next icon indicates that there is some type of global alarm. This is more of a system-related alarm. Chances are, with this particular alarm, it's likely due that the date or the time are set incorrectly. The next icon indicates you have a message. You'll get this every time that you turn on the nanodac, indicating that it's powered up. Some other things that might cause the message is a specific user logging in or an alarm on a particular channel. So right now we're looking at 4 points of I/O as I talked about previously, and it's updating at roughly 1 second intervals. You notice on the right hand side here we've got an options button. If we click on the options button, we've got a couple different things we can trigger back and forth to change the way that the screen looks. For example, if we go to a flat view, we hit save and go to back, it changes the way that the 4 points look. If we go back into options, and let's say that we don't want to look at any decimal places, instead of what we had as default as 2, now we're looking at no decimal places. Kind of gives you an idea of some of the things that you can do. Some other things that you can turn on or turn off are things like the legend. You can choose between a transparent or a white background. Do we want to show grid lines? The value alignment, do we want to have that horizontal or vertical? And then what's a nice feature as well is what point do we specifically want to look at? The default is to show all points that you currently have enabled. But if you want to look at a specific zone, you can simply click on that zone, hit save, and go back and look at that specific zone. Okay, let's take a look at line graphs. So again, you can see our 4 different points, and they are currently being trended. right now the values that I have going across are simply sine wave and triangle test signals, as you can see by the trend here. It looks like right now it's set up to trend every 5 seconds, but if we want to increase that interval, we can always click on Options and change the sample period from 5 seconds to 1 second. Hit Save, go back, and now you'll notice that we're looking at more up-to-date data. Of course, keep in mind that when you increase the interval, you're also going to shorten the duration of what you can see on the screen at one point in time. For example, we change this back to 10 seconds. And you can notice that we're looking at significantly more data at one particular point. Everything else is pretty much the same. You can change the plot thickness. So for example, if you want to change the how thick that particular line is, you can go from narrow to wide and it'll change the thickness of the line. Everything else we pretty much talked about: legend, background type, do we want to show grid lines, and how many points do we want to plot. Now when we click on numerics, this simply self-explanatory, just shows you the points that you currently have trending right now. Again, you can have up to 6 points. Right now I only have 4. The colors that you see in front of you right now are based on the configuration of the nanodac. You have a lot of different colors you can choose from. These are just what they were currently set to. Again, if we click on options, the only differences you can do with the options this time around is how big you want the font to be, and then of course the size of the PV. So for example, if we switch the channel font size to large, we'll leave the PV font size to normal, we hit save, go back, you can see how it changes the way the display looks. So that's trending. Pretty basic, but it gives you a lot of information. Again, these are all built into the nanodac at no additional charge. Click on alarm summary. Currently we don't have any alarm. You may have noticed earlier in the video there was a little alarm icon in the lower left hand corner. If I had set it to latched, meaning I would have to acknowledge it in order for that alarm to clear, you would see it going across here. Message summary. This refers to that little message icon I showed you earlier. Pretty much all we have listed here are the channel 1 alarm turning on and turning off. And then one nice feature that we have with the promote parameter page is that in the event that you want to display something that you don't necessarily want to trend, maybe you're looking at an average value of something, whatever it may be. With the promote parameter page on the nanodac, you can have up to 10 read-writable values displayed. What this page allows you to do is look at those 10 values. Now, they're not writable from the web server, but they do give you viewing capability. So again, we talked about the 6-point limitation previously. Well, you can have that 6 points plus the additional 10 points now on the promote parameter page. So you can actually look at 16 different points. Now let's look at the historical data. So what's nice about this is no longer do you have to extract the data and look at it remotely, pulling it into another piece of software, or being right in front of the nanodac. You can just load up the web server and look at the internal memory as we speak. So right now, looks very similar to what we saw underneath the line graph or trending, but it's obviously not updating. Let's click on options real quick. Again, this looks very familiar to before. If we change the sample period, say to every 10 seconds, hit save, go back. Again, now we're looking at data. We want to look at data, let's just say maybe 30 minutes ago. Simply click the previous data button, and you can see every time we go back, you can see the data that we have saved internally on the nanodac. Again, this is all based on the internal memory of the nanodac, with 4 points of data being recorded. Let's just say every 5 seconds, for example. You probably can store 2 to 3 months worth of data internally without any kind of archiving strategy implemented. So that being said, that is the web server in a nutshell. That's on IE9. If we wanted to do the exact same with Google Chrome, we can go to our bookmarks. Very similar page, admin. And again, same kind of functionality. Now one thing I want to keep in mind here, I'm still logged in using Internet Explorer 9. So right now I theoretically have two different users logged in at once. Let's test out Firefox. Admin, admin. And now, using Internet Explorer 9, the latest Google Chrome, and Firefox, I now have three different users logged into the nanodac. With this web server, you can have up to 4 separate users connected to it, which really is a nice feature considering it's now a standard feature with the nanodac. That being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you guys have any questions, my information is up on the screen. Feel free to shoot me a quick email or give me a call. Thanks a lot.